Today's install is going to be a Fuel Customs brand new clutch case, the entire clutch case kit. What's neat about this is it has better access to be able to get in if you have a belt. I'm not sure how this vent is going to play. You can see they've moved around a couple of things here. This is going to be your exhaust vent, I believe. If you look inside, they've given you a uni filter here. It's going to do it. And they also have a couple of areas that are cut out. So you can see here, I run a Duraclutch, but that is irrelevant for this case. I've gone ahead and removed primary and secondary. This vent may or may not be necessary anymore. Got my input shaft and everything here. So I'm going to be removing, and you can see I've got an inline blower here as well. So that should help. And you'll see that it's basically the same thing. So I'm going to be removing this part and putting on the new one. It appears to only have those 6 screws around the primary and secondary, and one down there at the bottom. Those are all metric 10s. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove those screws. Should be pretty quick. Okay, had the screws removed, which wasn't a problem. You see some of the washers are still stuck on there. Oops. So that's fine. Next, got to go ahead and make sure you remove the hose clamps. There's a couple of them here. You got to get the hose clamps off and remove those pieces so that we're able to get in there and remove that whole thing. Should just come right off. All right, there we go. That wasn't too difficult at all. Adjusted the hose clamps and just kind of positioned it out underneath these wires here, and just kind of slipped right on out. So I'm going to get back there and just clean it up a little bit, and then I'll go ahead and just slide on the new one. So there's the supplied one that came with the Fuel Customs. It's different enough that you definitely have to change this with the stock one. I just went ahead and put in my belt gauge sensor. I had an extra Alba belt gauge sensor. I just went ahead and put it right there, and it just has enough sticking out. There you go, just enough sticking out, so it should be close to it. So I'm going to go ahead. The reason is these holes line up much differently than the stock ones, and of course, if you wanted to, I think you could remove the seal, and if you want to waterproof it yourself, I'm sure you could do. But given the fact that there's a large gaping hole in the top of this thing, it doesn't make a lot of sense to go ahead and waterproof it. So okay, so there you go. It's pretty easy to put on. The hardest part was getting it around the airbox there. There's a nut, you can see it right there. It allows it to pivot a little bit back and forth. I had to loosen that to push it forward so I could push this in properly. You can see there's not a lot of space there, but it worked, and I got in there. And there's that metal plate there, which I imagine has something to do with keeping it protected. Other than that, it's just these 7 screws. 3 there, 1 on the bottom there, and these 3 over here. It took a little force just to push it enough to line it up right, but I didn't want to warp the case at all. Again, it has instructions on what the torque procedure should be. These are not too different, but 10 foot-pounds on the threaded nuts, I guess. So there we go. Now I'm putting back on a Duraclutch, which I hope works. It runs really tight on the stock, as anyone with a Duraclutch might know. And I'm also putting back on my inline blower here, and I don't foresee that being a problem. All right, well, I put my Duraclutch back on and put the belt back on. Tightened everything down to spec. You see it actually has their specs there. I double checked with the service manual though, and it differed. This one's supposed to be 98 foot-pounds. It says 75 there. Maybe that's just a part of the Duraclutch piece. Now I'm going to just try and fit on that outer case. Hopefully it'll fit with the Duraclutch. Okay. Taking it off here. I'm just going to move my stock out of the way. You're absolutely going to have to move those in order to get this to go in right. I've got it kind of pressed up there now. You can kind of get an idea, and I put some bolts in here, here, and here. It's metric number 8 if you're going to be putting them in. I'm not going to over screw them too tight. A little bit. Put my impact wrench on the slowest setting and just screw some of these in. I'll help it just kind of push it down and make sure it's sat right, because it appears to be a little off kilter, and that might be as a result of the way that I had to negotiate the whole case in. Oh.